Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm coming to y'all with a sort of revival for this channel. I got out of Magic for a little while there, and I'm just now kind of getting back into it. And I kept a few of my decks, and this is one of the decks that I did keep, and have recently gone through and tuned up. And it's kind of an interesting story. So this was built to be an Izzet flavor deck, largely restricted to, does this feel like it fits within the Izzet League and or affiliation with Niv-Mizzet himself? And that's still what it is. And so what that means is there are certain cards that I just can't play no matter how good they'd be because they are very obviously tied to different planes. So for example, this is, a flavor deck and it is a combo deck and I'm trying to go infinite and I have a dual caster mage in this deck. So Baral's expertise would be a great include so I could go infinite. However, Baral is not from Ravnica, nor does he have any ties to Ravnica, so a card like Baral's Expertise, which names him specifically, is an automatic no-go in this deck. I cannot include it. So the cards must either be from, Ravnica and affiliated with the Izzet, either directly via watermark, or the name implies it, or the artwork shows it, something like that, or it must fit within the theme. So I feel I could put a Laboratory Maniac in this deck. That feels very Izzet, and the art looks fairly Izzet, so on and so forth. So let's kind of get into this. Niv-Mizzet Dracogenius is also known as the Bad Niv-Mizzet or the College Years Niv-Mizzet. It is 2 blue, and 2 red for a 5/5 legendary creature dragon wizard with flying. Whenever he deals damage to a player, you may draw a card. That may is actually very important with my game plan. You can pay a blue and a red to have Niv-Mizzet deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with this if you build around this outside of a flavor deck. Gorgon's Flail, Basilisk Collar type of stuff to give him Death Touch. So that way he can just pay 2 mana, kill a creature. What is that? Will Breaker, I think is what it's called, where you can, whenever a creature's targeted, you gain control of it, something like that. Will Bender, Will Breaker, I forget which card that is. I used to have it in here, I don't anymore. So there's some cool stuff you can do, but for me, he's a source of card draw in the command zone and a way to utilize infinite mana to win the game. So let's just set him over here and get into our mana base. So our mana base I'm not going to spend too much time on because it's all fairly self-explanatory. We've got Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Scalding Tarn, Volcanic Island, Steam Vents, Thundering Falls, Izzet Boilerworks, because, it's just a good land, and we are a flavor deck. Izzet Guildgate is not a good land, but we're a flavor deck. Same thing with Nivix's Area of the Firemind. Shivan Reef. This is one I would really like to cut, because the more I think about it, Shiv is tied to Dominaria, so I really need to remove this from the deck. Training Center, Sulphur Falls, Cascade Bluffs, River Glide Pathway, probably the same situation, probably needs to be cut. Frostboil Snarl, Temple of Epiphany, Reliquary Tower. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 islands. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mountains. Okay. Now we get into sort of the ramp package of the deck. Mox Diamond, just some fast mana. Wayfarer's Bauble, one of the best pieces of ramp outside of a green deck. By the way, I should mention with stuff like this, with the Mox Diamond and whatnot, I had originally built this deck to be as casual as possible. However, with the new bracket system, even if I removed all game changers, the deck still sits at bracket 4 due to the sheer number of infinites, and so I figured I'll just lean into it a little bit and take advantage and play what I could. Soul Ring needs no explanation. It's in every commander deck. Belwar Stone is a cheap rock that helps. Usually we'll get one of our colors. Fairly often it gets both. Thought Vessel to give us no max hand size. Arcane Signet, again, needs no explanation. Talisman of Creativity is a good mana rock that also mentions Ralzeric in the flavor text, so it fits. Izzet Signet, yet again, a good mana rock that also happens to be flavorful. But the next few are not very good mana rocks because they are flavorful. So we have Izzet Keyrune, Izzet Cluestone, and Izzet Locket. So yeah, this is the kind of stuff I'm working with here, being in a flavor restriction. Mizzium Transreliquat, this is a fun card. It usually just ends up copying one of our artifacts. So it has the ability to pay 3 generic to become a copy of an artifact till end of turn, or 1 a red and a blue to become a copy of target artifact, period. And it also gains the ability to transform into something else. And so we're usually just copying one of our own mana rocks. Sometimes I do copy an opponent's rock if they've got something like a Gilded Lotus on board, because I'd rather pay 3 mana for a Gilded Lotus than 5. And there's also been times I use this to copy like a Boldus' Citadel, which is always fun. But usually it's just copying a mana rock. Firemind Vessel, very much flavorful to Niv, and one of our better rocks, gets us 2 of our colors. Then we have our cost reducers. So Ral Monsoon Mage. Instants and sorceries cost 1 less. It has a whole flip ability, but I pretty much never flip this. I just want the cost reduction. Goblin Electromancer, and Mizzet of the Is Magnus. And the last piece of ramp we have in the deck is Ral Zarek. He is and isn't ramp. He's usually just here for that +1 to untap target permanent, so we'll untap like our Firemind's Vessel or Izzet Boilerworks if we have them. Just a regular land if not. I have gotten this to its ultimate a couple of times, and it does end the game, but if you manage to alter Ral Zarek, you're probably winning that game anyways. Okay, we get into some of the combo-y type stuff in this deck. So the main way this deck likes to win is via infinite of these kind of fork reverberate effects. And so I run pretty much everyone I can. I'm missing Reiterate. I need to get a Reiterate for this deck. So we have Narset's Reversal, which is kind of the best or second best one, because it can also be used as a pseudo counterspell. I have used this to get my own Demonic Tutor more than once, which is solid. Twin Cast, Reverberate. All these just copy a target instant or sorcery, and I'll explain how the combo works whenever I kind of get to that section. So Reverberate, Increasing Vengeance, of course the original fork. Expansion, specifically on this side. I've never cast it for Explosion, but I guess Duality is nice. Dual Caster Mage, and then the other arguably best one is Fury Storm. So let me just set a couple of these things aside here so that way I remember to kind of talk about how this combo works. Then I get really lucky because my 3 Guild Mages within the flavor restrictions also all happen to be fork effects. So League Guild Mage can pay X and red to X red and tap to copy target instant or sorcery we control with mana value of X. League Guild Mage is just pay 2 and a blue to copy target instant mana value 2 or less. And Nivix Guild Mage is 2, a blue, and a red to copy target instant or sorcery we control, period. And then we also have Jin Illuminatus as the final fork effect, just because I wanted to play this somewhere, and it turns any one of our forks into 2 forks. Okay, so why are we playing all of these fork effects? Well, the answer is simple, because we're trying to win off of either Ral Storm Conduit or Storm Kiln Artist. We get this glare off the screen. So the way that these both work is they both have Magecraft, which means when you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, you get their effect. Ral deals 1 damage upon Magecraft. Storm Kiln Artist makes you a treasure upon Magecraft. And so what you want to do is have any spell on the stack, and then casting them like Increasing Vengeance, Fork, Reverberate, whatever, targeting that spell, hold priority, and then cast another fork effect, targeting the first fork effect. And what that does is creates a copy, which then targets the original, which creates a copy, which then targets the original, which creates a copy, which then targets the original. And so once we have those 2 forks looping each other, we have infinite Magecraft to deal infinite damage or make infinite treasures. Infinite treasures can then be used to pay into Niv-Mizzet's ability to deal infinite damage. So they are both pretty much equal no matter which of these 2 we have on board. The reason Fury Storm is possibly the best is because if we've cast Niv at least once, we only need Fury Storm to copy the spell. So we target, we cast Fury Storm targeting some spell on the stack, and then we get 2 Fury Storms, and one of them copies the original, which goes, on and on and on, and does the whole loop again. All of our Guild Mages, yet again, we only need 1 fork effect with our Illuminatus or with any of our Guild Mages because they just copy it and make it target itself, and we're able to go infinite that way. So yeah, I pretty much run every single way I can to get this fork loop going, except Reiterate, because again, I need one. And yeah, that's just kind of what that is. There's a Dual Caster Mage in here. I don't know where it is. Might be sitting behind something. Did I already show it and I just forget? Oh yeah, there's the Dual Caster Mage. I showed it. Kind of the weakest piece in this deck because it's not an instant or a sorcery, but it can be tutored with another card in the deck. So anyways, there's that set of combos. Now we are playing a Niv-Mizzet deck, which means we are also running other Nivs. So Niv Perrin and Niv Firemind. These are both, kind of famous for going infinite with any number of cards. And those cards are Niv-Mizzet Visionary, Curiosity, and Ophidian Eyes. So we are running all of the classic Niv combos within this particular Niv shell, because again, it's all very flavorful to the Izzet anyways. Especially if you got Niv Firemind or Niv Perrin going infinite with Niv Visionary, because what is more on flavor for Niv-Mizzet than Niv-Mizzet going infinite with himself? So, yeah, after that, we move into the Counterspell package. So, Counterspell has an Izzet Mage on it. Ionize is an Izzet Counterspell. Invert Polarity is an Izzet Counterspell that also sometimes just steals the thing instead. So, this is great for, again, tutors and whatnot. Counterflux is an uncounterable counterspell that wins the stack war. And then we have our removal. So Shattering Spree and Vandal Blast, these both get rid of problematic artifacts or just cripple someone who got off to a very fast start. Oftentimes, in my experience, when someone gets one of those Land Soul Ring Talisman or Land Soul Ring Signet starts, they usually only kept 1 or 2 lands. And so if I can blow their knees out from underneath them, I'll always take the chance with cards like these. Chaos Warp needs no introduction. It just deals with problematic cards. It's pretty much our only real way to deal with enchantments oftentimes. Mizium Mortars is not a very good card, but again, when we're restricted to Izzet flavor, we take what we can get. Cyclonic Rift is a very good card and is our best board wipe. Draconic Intervention. This card fit the flavor of the deck anyways, because Niv would often intervene on behalf of his guild, such as the case with the Nephilim. So I had the card, and it's like a 16-cent card, but I wanted to proxy it because I wanted to have Niv on the art, specifically so I could use this awesome Boom Comics version of, his Clockwork Dragon iteration. So yeah, this basically just says that as an additional cost, we exile an instant or sorcery from our graveyard, and then Draconic Intervention deals X damage to each non-dragon, where X is that spell's CMC. If a creature dealt damage this way would die, exile it instead, and then we exile the intervention. So Niv is going to intervene and save his guild, which is kind of cool. Brainstorm, we're into the card draw now. Decent draw, and it has an Izzet Mage on it. Izzet Charm, sometimes it's a counter spell, sometimes it's a draw spell, sometimes it's a burn spell to a creature, but we're most oftenly using this just to loot. Cerebral Vortex. This is a fun card because it's a 3-mana instant speed draw 2, lose 2 more often than not, but sometimes it does just end up killing an opponent, because if they've drawn a whole bunch of cards, like if I'm playing against my buddy who's playing his Locust God deck, or his Niv-Mizzet Perrin deck, this card can just sometimes blow you out of nowhere. And it's just a lot of fun. Chemist's Insight draws us 2 and can be jump-started. And then we have our tutor package. So Mystical Tutor, it goes and finds any instant or sorcery. Again, originally these types of cards weren't in the deck, but if I'm forced into bracket 4, I'm going to tune to bracket 4 as I can. So finds an instant or sorcery. Gamble finds us anything at all. Muddle the Mixture. I know this has a Dimir watermark, but that is very obviously an Izzet Mage on the artwork getting his mixture muddled, so I say it's good enough. This can transmute and go and find a rock for us. It can transmute and go and find one of our fork effects, and it can sometimes just be a counterspell. Solve the Equation. Find any instant or sorcery. Long-term plans, yet another card that's not a very expensive card, but I hated the old border in this deck because I really felt like it clashed with everything, so I made a proxy of it just to, utilize Niv on the artwork and help it feel more at home. It's already a flavorful card. Niv is known for his long-term plans, but again, I wanted it to look the part, and the old border just didn't. So find any card, put it third from the top. This will very often go and find Stormkiln Artist or Rowlstorm Conduit. Vidalcan Aether Mage, this is in here to Wizard Cycle for Dualcaster Mage, one of our Guild Mages, or one of the other Niv-Mizzets. We have Invert Invent. We're always casting the Invent side, so we search for an instant and or a sorcery and put them in our hand. We're pretty much always going to grab both. And then we have Firemind's Foresight. This goes and finds a 1-drop, 2-drop, and 3-drop instant. Yet another reason I need to reiterate in this deck, because if I resolve this, it can just go find any of our 2-mana forks, and then if I get Reiterate, a 3-mana fork, as well as a 1-mana spell to copy. So I can go Brainstorm, Reverberate, Reiterate, and then just win the following turn if I have one of our outlets on board. Snapcaster Mage, yet another card that was flavorful anyways, but there was this awesome art by Kevin McKenna that I wanted to use, so I swapped my actual one out for this. Let's just recur something from the graveyard. A lot of recollection is very much the same kind of thing. Let's just recur something from the graveyard, though I'm thinking about swapping it with Bonds of Insight to get 2 things back, and because that's more flavorful. Izzet Chemister. This card is actually a lot better than a lot of folks realize, because whenever it casts the things that we exile with it, they go back to our graveyard, so we get to use them over and over again with more recursion, and it comes out, you know, not too early, but not super late in the game either. We can often just stockpile with this thing, and yeah, get a whole bunch of stuff back. Mystic Retrieval gets 2 things back in its lifespan. Mizzet's Mastery casts everything out of our graveyard, so if our combo's been stopped, as long as we have an outlet on board, we can just do it again. And then finally, we have Stitch in Time, just because I really wanted a place to play this. You flip a coin. If you win the flip, you take an extra turn. It's flavorful. It's fun. Very often, it just ends up reading 3 mana, draw a card, play a land, pass the turn. But again, that's the kind of deck we're on here. So, you know, it's a flavor deck. What do you want? Is it bracket 4? Yeah, technically. Will it win bracket 4 games? Not often. I mean, I'm not going to say I've never done it. It has happened. If opponents get really bad hands, I can win a bracket 4 game with it. But it's a super fun deck. It's an homage to my favorite character in Magic and my favorite dragon in all of fantasy. This beautiful illustration by Todd Lockwood. I mean, first of all, if you never read The Summer Dragon by Todd Lockwood, go give that a shot. But the deck is just super fun, and Niv is super fun to build around. I love restrictions like flavor. I'm building my Nicol Bolas, the Ravager deck, also around him and his flavor, so that's going to be super fun. Is it a strong deck? It can be when it gets this thing going. Is it a strong bracket 4 deck? Absolutely not. Is it even a strong bracket 3 deck? Like, does this often win at bracket 3 tables? Maybe 30% of the time. So it's not bad. But what I will say is it's a ton of fun. There's a lot of better ways to build the commander, but this is the way I wanted to build the commander. So there it is. Hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.